Good morning. I'm trying now to speak about um, uh, how to heal from addiction from a spiritual standpoint, because that's important. If you have no spiritual protection, you'll probably not make it out of addiction. And I have a lot of books here, and I'm going to get into that. So, spiritual protection. First, let's talk about magic, and if it's morally acceptable to use magic for these purposes. So I'm talking about magic from an ethical standpoint. Is there a way to do magic which would not go against God? And I think there is. And if you, for example, if you pray to the Archangel Michael, that would be considered magic. If you pray for protection to an angel or invoke an angel for protection, that would be considered magic. So also the Catholic Mass is ceremonial magic. That's how to connect to Jesus Christ. It's a magical act. They call it transubstantiation in when you become a priest. So so is there an ethical way to use magic? I think there is, and maybe some people would disagree with me, and that Jesus Christ is powerful enough to pull you through all these things. But in my case, I did not really learn how to do that, and I used to do it wrong to overcome. So basically that's what your hair looks like after 3 lockdowns. Okay, so like I said, I was involved with a hypnotist, and he used to use invocations and evocations and so on. And this guy, you really knew what he was doing. And so if he would call on like the Archangel Uriel, the room which we were in, which was like a small to middle, it was not a large room, but it was pretty big. And when he did that, when he would call on, for example, the Archangel Uriel, which is the archangel considering Earth and the physical world, and when he did that, the atmosphere in the room would change to such a degree that it felt like you could cut the air with a knife. That's how good he was in doing that. I'm not sure if that had also something to do with me, because I meditated for like 3 years, 1.5 hours a day, and I did that every day. And if I would guess, there would be like maybe up to 5 or maybe 10 days which I were not able to do that. So I took that very, very, very seriously, this meditation thing, because for me at that point in time, that was, for me, in my opinion, that was my way out of this hellhole that I've dug for myself. So when he would call on and evoke the Archangel Uriel into me, I would be in a very deep trance, because I practiced that for 3 years basically, so I really could put myself in a very, very, very deep trance, and if I would do it alone, I would feel the presence of an angel and pressure on my head, like, I don't know, let's say the pressure was something like, if you would use that Bible and put it on my head, that would be the amount of pressure applied to my head when I would invoke in a deep trance an angel. So I was with this hypnotist for a long time, and at some point I had like I don't know, I had like this inner voice that this is not a good thing, and it would always point me to Deuteronomy 19 where it says, there shall be no one be found among you who practices magic, or goes to a charmer, which would be a hypnotist, or a necromancer, and so on and so on. And so this little voice I would have in the back of my head, at that point in time I didn't really know who or how to distinguish between what's demonic and what comes from above. So I didn't really know what to do, and then I just quit. So I should have done it for 12 months, and after 6 or 7 months I quit, and I cut this person completely off. I wouldn't answer any text messages or anything like that anymore, because of this little voice in my head. And at that point in time, I have read the Bible, but not a lot. So I'm not an expert or something on the Bible, but I had this feeling when I would drive by a church. I had this pulling sensation, and I cannot describe it. It was like it would pull me in that direction, and I didn't know what what to think about that at that time. And I was also then involved with who I consider to be a dangerous person over the internet. Who was an ipsissimus, and that's a very, very rare thing that you can be involved with somebody like that. And he put everything about Magick, he put it out there. It just dropped into my lap. And now if I look back at that time, I can see the strategic trying of someone to strategically pull me into Magick. And I must say, I learned a lot about Magick. And through that, I had to conclude that the Bible was truthful. I had to have faith, and I had to try it out and to experience it, and it worked. I pray to the Archangel Michael for protection, but I don't consider that magic. What I was doing was more ceremonial magic and stuff like that. So, like I said, it's a lot of stuff. I wanted to talk about the one of the most important angels in magic, Sandalphon. The Archangel Sandalphon is considered to be the largest and the tallest angel in the Kabbalah. So I had to learn the Kabbalah inside and out to understand what he was talking about. I had to learn all this stuff. So the Archangel Sandalphon reaches from the earth into Kether, and he is the only angel that is considered to be the tallest or the biggest angel in magic. So if you do a magical ritual or a prayer as a magician, usually you would first invoke Sandalphon, the Archangel Sandalphon, and that's very important. So the Archangel Sandalphon, and then there is another angel that's very important, and that is Metatron. Metatron is basically Enoch or Henosh, and Henosh was the father of Noah, and he, according to the book of Enoch, which used to be a biblical book, which it is no longer. It was taken out of the Bible. So Henosh, according to the book of Enoch, which was once a part of the canon of the Bible. Henosh did not die. Henosh went in physical form into becoming an angel, and his angelic name is Metatron, and Metatron is one of the most important angels in Magick, because he is representative of all the sephira or sphera or emanations. He is in all of them. So he represents the whole Kabbalah, and therefore Metatron is also very important in Magick. So, and there is also what's very important for black magic is the Archangel Uriel, because he represents the earth and the earth energies. He is the Archangel over the earth energies, and all the demons are in the Clifford, or in the, which is the upside down Kabbalah, which goes, Hell goes from Malkut down like that, and Uriel would stand here. So he would be a go-between that you could use to use demons. So he's very important, Uriel. And also what's extremely important in magic is the cardinal points, which in German would be die Himmelsrichtungen. So north, east, west and south. You have to know that stuff. If you don't know that, you're gonna hurt yourself. So if you do positive magic, you always do it facing the south. If you have an altar, you stand in the east and look into the west to invite positive archetypes, positive angels, like the Archangel Michael, for example, would be in the west. For black magic, you always look into the east, and so why do the Muslims? In which direction do the Muslims pray? Into the east. And I don't know if it was Albert Pike, but it was a very famous Freemason who said that we control Islam. And if you see the high-ranking Freemasons, they all wear a fez, which is an like a headwear from Islam, and you would have the half moon on it, the Islamic half moon on the fez, and that are like the Freemasons of the 30th, 31st, 32nd and 33rd degree. And these people swear their oaths on the Quran. So they all, and this includes many celebrities from the 80s, 90s, including comedians. Like there was a very famous black comedian use my own brain when I have Google. His name is Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor was a Freemason, and these people, when you get into, at least it used to be like that, I'm not sure if it still is, I think they changed it. Excuse me. So I think they changed it, but it used to be like that when you go into when you're in the 30th degree, the 31st, 32nd, and 33rd degree were basically honorable titles, and if you wanted to go that high up, you you would have to make a ritual, and this ritual was called the Warrior of the Block Rite. Rite, like R-I-T-E, the Warrior of the Block Rite, and this was a blood sacrifice. So that would would have to do that. So, and if you're in the 31st, 32nd, and 33rd degree, you would have to know the inner truth, which is called the Luciferian doctrine. And the Luciferian doctrine is basically that Lucifer is the real God of humanity, because Lucifer freed humanity from the tyranny of Adonai, and that's the Luciferian doctrine. So he freed us by giving us the gift of the intellect. So according to the Theosophists, Helena Blavatsky and so on, Alice Bailey and so on, that's the truth. So they believe that, they absolutely believe that. And yeah, so that's that. And basically invoking Lucifer is not really possible. You would talk to a demon. You would not be able to do that, because he chooses his people very carefully, and that is a spiritual thing. That is the spiritual world is very real. If you cannot believe that, then think about this. Even the scientists say that we see like 3% of the light spectrum, and the light spectrum is like 0.1% of the whole wave spectrum. And so we're basically blind. And if you ever wondered why cats suddenly jump into the air and run away, and that's because they see a broader spectrum of light. So that has been that's just the truth, and everything emanates from the world of energy, the spiritual world. Everything begins there, and everything goes back to there. And that's even logic from a scientific standpoint, if you think about it. So, what did I want to talk about? How to heal spiritually. So, as far as I am concerned, you need spiritual protection to overcome this evil. So you have two ways you can go, like the Stairway to Heaven. There's only two ways you can go by, but in the long run. So there are two ways you can go, basically, and that's either Lucifer or Jesus Christ. And there was only one human being who made a blemishless blood sacrifice, and that was Jesus. And so there are two ways, and you must decide which way you want to go, and then go there. And yeah, so spiritual protection. So what did I do to protect myself? In the beginning, one of the things I did to protect myself was the Merkaba meditation. So I used to do the Merkaba, which is basically it looks like a pyramid from the middle of your body going up. A tetraoid and tetrahedron auf Deutsch. So it's not a pyramid, it has three sides. So, and it goes up from the middle of your body, from your second chakra upward over your head, and one looks downward, it goes into the earth. So there is a pyramid upward and a pyramid down, and they spin in different, the one going up would spin to the left, and the one going down would spin to the right. And you would do a certain breathing technique and visualization, and I did that for years. So, and you do that with I can't really remember exactly, but you can read up on it. So anyway, you would spin it to the right, and the one going down, you would spin it. The one going down would spin to the right. The one going up, you would spin to the left, and this would then create a bubble around you, and then you would invoke like the Archangel Michael, so that his energy is within that bubble. That's what I did, and I did that for many years. And I noticed immediately that people would treat me different when I did this. Usually when you're like an addict, you're treated like garbage, you're treated like scum. If you go to some doctor or something, so or district captaincy. So that's just, I noticed immediately when I began to do this, and I could even do it when I was walking. So I wouldn't have to sit in the lotus posture. I did that too, but I could also do it just before I would walk into a building. And I noticed immediately, suddenly, people that used to treat me like a modern day leper suddenly treated me like a normal human being, with hello, how are you, and Is everything all right? And so on. And usually they would like be as just, it was bad. It was really, really, really bad. And maybe that also has something to do with your spiritual energy. People can see that. Then they don't realize it intellectually, but it makes a difference. So I assume that if you would invoke like Lucifer or something, that people would treat you much differently. And that's a fact. I know it. I did it. I saw it myself. And suddenly synchronicities would happen. Like usually when you're having this dark cloud around you, when you're an addict, nothing works anymore. You constantly run into walls, invisible walls, and it's humiliating, and it destroys your self-esteem if you ever had one, and it's just bad, really bad. So just by doing this meditation, people would treat me differently, and that alone was just unbelievable for me, that this worked. I didn't know why. I didn't really, at that point, I didn't really believe in demons or angels. I thought they were like soul archetypes, like Carl Gustav Jung said. You know, they are just like in your genetic memory, and you can call them up, but they are not real. But in reality, they are more real than we are. So the spiritual world, the world of energy, is more real than this physical one. And that's very, very hard to understand for most people. And that's also why there are a few people on the top who are trillionaires and quadrillionaires and billionaires and so on, because they know that this works, and they constantly work at it, and they are constantly doing their rituals, and it just works. And people can't see it, they can't understand it with the intellect, but they feel it. They feel the difference and of energy, and so they treat you differently. So that's enough Kabbalah for one day. I used to talk about, I had diaries in one of my videos, that I had diaries from my ritual workings, and I used to write on them, it worked again, and 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 it worked again, because I didn't really believe that it would work. I just did the rituals to see what would happen, and suddenly things would happen. I mean, like I said, at one day I made a ritual that something exciting would happen on the weekend, and then that was on Friday, and on Saturday I woke up and I had a fever, and I was bedridden. So I thought, like in the context of we would go to a disco or something, or we would go to a pub or a bar, and then I was sick, and then I thought, so now I did a ritual that didn't work. Finally, now I know that this stuff isn't real. It was like so now I had to use Google again. It was a relief for me, and I thought finally I did a ritual and it didn't work. Now I know that this is not for real. This is just imagination. That's just superstition. So, and it has some effect, but it doesn't work all the time. So, and on the next day, on that Saturday, one of the biggest parties in Austria, the head of that party was videotaped committing a crime, and he was let go from the FPÖ, which is a very, very powerful political party in Austria. And that happened on Saturday, and everybody, including me and my family and other people, were sitting in front of the TV completely astonished for 2 days. What this guy did was so criminal. It was unbelievable. So something very, very, very exciting did happen. So I had to write under it. Again, I had to write under that it worked again. And so, and then after I after that, I knew that this is real. This is real. So this is one of the diaries that I had, and it's just like that's like sigil magic or whatever. There have the Kabbalah. That's the sigil of Lucifer and other sigil magic. So this is like a diary of all the like rituals that I had done. This is the sigil of Azazel, and yeah, and I had like 3 of these books, and like that's another sigil. So I was very, 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 very deep into all this, all this stuff. Thelema. That's like how to open the pineal gland, the third eye, and so on. So, wow, that was from like 2016, 2016, 2015, 2014, something like that. And I have a few other books like that. And so anyway, that's just to emphasize the point that I was very, very, very much into that stuff. So then I had doubts. Then I had like a moral conundrum within me, like a moral thing that said that if this is real, this is dangerous. Like, you know, you could kill people like with that. You would never be able to be tried in court. Never. No court in the world would accept that magic is real. So this is in that context, in the justice system, this is very, very interesting if you think about that. And if you think about the Church of Satan, which was founded by Anton LaVey, how many members do they have? They must have like, I don't know, a lot of them now. And they are all practicing magic, and no one could convict them of any crime. And like, if anybody who really knows what he's doing puts a spell on you, you wouldn't know how to help yourself. You wouldn't even know that there's a spell on you. And and then like the moral question got too much for me, and then this thing happened with Jesus, but still I was still involved with this stuff, and it took me like now it's 6 years later, and it took me a few years to like stop doing that stuff and repenting of it. And if you meet him, Jesus, like the demons are like, little small like shadows, and he's a very 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 bright light. So like the Apostle Paul was blinded for 3 days when he looked at him, and so the darkness can't fight the light. That's not possible, and that's the reason why I changed my mind. Thank you for listening, and good day.